Now, if that, what the choir just did, if there was a little sense of spirit there that touches your heart a little bit, you get sometimes music kind of hits you like that. And God's Spirit is an amazing thing because it is bigger than any religion or culture. God's Spirit will defy anything, will reach out to us where we are at. It does not matter if you're a Christian, if you're a person of no faith. At some point, your very being feels moved by the Spirit. This has been true of humans from the beginning of human history to this very moment. Now, in Jesus of Nazareth, a Jew that was living in rural nowhere in Galilee, just days north of Jerusalem, in this person, people encountered someone whose teaching and very presence revealed something holy to them. And we don't really know what Jesus was up to for the first 30 years of his life. What was his job? What did he do? Was he a carpenter? He was trained as one. We ask, was he married? Did he travel far away? There are some people who think that maybe he traveled as far away as India. We just don't know. But what we do know is that at one point, when he was right about 30, everything changed. We have more ancient documents relating to the life of this Jew living in rural Galilee than we do written of Roman emperors. People who met Jesus were transformed. They changed their lives. And they began to have a hope for how the world could be. In his teaching and in his healing, Jesus led people to imagine how humanity could live at peace with justice. How human beings could live the days that they have fully and passionately, not for ego, but in compassionate love for neighbor and for self. It was simple and it was powerful. And people pledged their lives to live in his way. They still do. Now, by all rights, after his death, the magic should have faded. That Jesus kind of gotten into the annals of history. But he didn't. In fact, more and more people encountered the hope of a better world after Jesus' death. People continued to have transforming experiences, spiritual experiences, through the teaching and the resurrected spiritual presence of a man who had died decades before. And a new religion began. A religion, a church, began that was separate from the religion that Jesus knew and lived by. Did Jesus want this new religion? Listen to this ancient scripture attributed to Jesus.
Don't even begin to think that I have come to do away with the law and the prophets. I haven't come to do away with them, but to fulfill them. I say to you very seriously that as long as heaven and earth exist, neither the smallest letter nor even the smallest stroke of a pen will be erased from the law until everything there becomes a reality.
Jesus was a Torah-observant Jew his entire life. Darren was just up here, and he just read off the first 5 laws of the Decalogue, the 10 Commandments. They are still part of who we are. They were part of who Jesus was. The God revealed in the law, the Torah, was at Jesus' core. It was the center of his being. But religion can grow dark. Jesus saw what the religion of his time was doing. His religion had lost sight of its essence, its commitment to human freedom and human healing. His harshest words, the harshest things that Jesus had to say, were for those who darkened his religion's message with vain power and ego.
The one who is greatest among you will be your servant. All who lift themselves up will be brought low, but all who make themselves low will be lifted up. How terrible it will be for you legal experts and Pharisees, hypocrites! You shut people out of the kingdom of heaven, you don't enter yourselves, and you won't allow those who want to enter to do so.
When religion becomes known for judging people, which is God's job and no one else's, it has become dark.
How terrible it will be for you, legal experts and Pharisees, hypocrites! You travel over sea and land to make one convert, but when they've been converted, they become twice the child of hell you are.
When religion is more concerned about converting people to a certain dogmatic view over helping people live fully and abundantly, it has become dark.
How terrible it will be for you blind guides who say, if people swear by the temple, it's nothing. But if people swear by the gold in the temple, they are obligated to do what they swore. You foolish and blind people, which is greater, the gold or the temple that makes the gold holy? You say, if people swear by the altar, it's nothing. But if they swear by the gift on the altar, they are obligated to do what they swore. You blind people, which is greater, the gift or the altar that makes the gift holy? Therefore, those who swear by the altar swear by it and by everything that's on it. Those who swear by the temple swear by it and by everything that's part of it. Those who swear by heaven swear by God's throne and by the one who sits on it.
When religion becomes more about binding ourselves to a particular denomination, a political ideology, or a cult of personality, no matter how charismatic, that religion has created false idols and darkened.
How terrible it will be for you legal experts and Pharisees, hypocrites! You give to God a tenth of mint, dill, and cumin, but you forget about the more important matters of the law: justice, peace, and faith. You ought to give a tenth, but without forgetting about those more important matters. You blind guides, you filter out an ant, but swallow a camel.
When religion becomes more about appearances and style over the core matters, the things that really matter, justice, peace, and faith, that religion has become dark.
How terrible it will be for you legal experts and Pharisees, hypocrites! You clean the outside of the cup and plate, but inside they are full of violence and pleasure-seeking. Blind Pharisee, first clean the inside of the cup so that the outside of the cup will be clean too.
When religion is more concerned about superficial appearances than of the hurting hearts and the spirits of people, it has become dark.
How terrible it will be for you legal experts and Pharisees, hypocrites! You are like whitewashed tombs. They look beautiful on the outside, but inside they are full of dead bones and all kinds of filth. In the same way, you look righteous to people. but inside you are full of pretense and rebellion.
When religion presumes to declare that there are no new revelations of God outside of the ancient scriptures, outside of creeds, that science and interaction with other religions have nothing to add, that religion becomes a whitewashed tomb full of anger and fear. That religion has become dark. And it has become as relevant as a fairy tale. I submit to you that the religion that had its birth in the one who was called the light of the world has darkened. Christ Church has become known for very similar sins that the legal experts and Pharisees were condemned for by Jesus. God gifted human beings with a sense, with reason and a degree of intellect. With these gifts, we continue together to expand our knowledge. And if church becomes known for only dogmatic insistence and orthodoxy over wonder and compassion, we put a cover on the light that people once experienced in Jesus and his way of living. And I think that that may have occurred. But this does not need to be. I have never found my fascination with scientific exploration and discovery, never found that to be at odds with my religious devotion. Quite the opposite. Some of my deepest wonder and reverence for God comes through glimpses through the light of science. My love for Christ has not been diminished with my conversations, my dialogue with Buddhists, with Muslims, with Jews. Quite the opposite. They have given me perspectives that have deepened my relationship with God. And so when I hear the foolish, the bigoted, the racist, the misogynist comments and statements that are made for people claiming to speak as Christians, I cringe. Now, here's my dilemma. On one hand, my religious perspective sees these horrible statements about women, these statements that come out of that separate people on the basis of race. I see that as Pharisaic, dark religion, something that I cannot affirm and that I disagree with. However, I am not alone wise. And I certainly do not speak for all Christians. In fact, the only person that I can truly speak for is myself. Potentially, I can guide the paths of some on their path of discovery, compassion, and healing. But as we talked about in the first sermon in this series, at my best, at your best, we can only be fingers pointing at the beauty of the moon. We can only point to God. You and I, we live in a moment when human learning has exploded. Every year, the human knowledge of this universe advances in huge steps. This is a truly amazing time to be alive. And human impact on this planet is profound. our technology in genetics and energy production have the potential to raise the quality of life for all, or to cause an extinction level event, wiping us out. Now is a time for light to once again spring from religion. Rather than becoming known for resisting and denouncing science, religion must become the spiritual partner of science. To put our millennia of human experience, of philosophy, of soul searching, deep reflection, of meditation, to work to help humankind morally and ethically, wisely, to use technologies in ways that will unify, that will illuminate, and lift people up rather than to destroy us. The religion of Jesus still has the power to transform, to change lives. The light has come into the world, and the darkness cannot overcome it. The hope for a new world continues. Jesus' teaching and healing still compel us, drive us into the world to imagine how can humanity today continue to live in peace. People can continue to find ways to live passionately and live fully, driven not by ego and selfishness, but by compassionate love for neighbor and self. We need this light now. What was so simple and powerful, it remains. Light continues to find ways to spread into all the dark corners of this world as people pledge their lives to live in Jesus' way. So now I would like to invite a very special young man to come forward as he takes his place among those who bear the light.